Korach specifically waited to bring his argument, his rebellion, after the Jewish people had reached Eretz Yisrael and then turned back due to the sin of the spies. Why? Until now, Bnei Israel were in a hierarchy. There was Moshe and Aharon at the top, closest to Hashem, who were outstanding in their greatness and intellect and their character traits. There was nobody that could even match them, of course. And it was due to this greatness that they deserved to be at the top. It was indeed of necessity, as the children of Israel were like innocent children in need of the guidance of these leaders. However, the coming out of Egypt was not to remain in the desert. The point of learning Torah is in order to actually live in the land and perform the mitzvot, translating the learning into action and deed. It's like the point of getting married is not to just read a love note about your spouse so you can get to know them, but also to move in with them and live with them and apply that knowledge, right? And this is the point. When it comes to doing a mitzvah, every Jew is on the same level, i.e. every Jew's mitzvah is equally holy and great. Korach, therefore, was arguing that it doesn't make sense anymore, now that we've got to Eretz Yisrael, to have a single outstanding leader. What does that achieve? The destination of the Jews is to go and do the mitzvot. And in that state, we will all be equal. This argument comes out in what Korach is saying. Why do you need a single mezuzah when you have a house full of books, Torah books? I.e., why do you need one leader when you have a nation of leaders? Why do you need a single strand of blue, of techelet, on your tzitzit, if you can make the whole garment blue? If we are all holy, why do we need you to rule over us as an extra holy? It's ridiculous, and that's why he laughed. And he was wrong, as the lesson is that the mitzvah itself is indeed equally holy for everyone. He was right about that. But the kavanah that goes behind the mitzvah is also of importance. Therefore, an outstanding leader like Moshe does indeed accomplish more for Hashem's plan when he does a mitzvah. Some Farshim even say that Korach was right, but it was too early. They actually did have to go into Eretz Yisrael. Or now we have to wait for the Mashiach. He was indeed too early. Some Farshim do compliment him, though, for his inner motivations. His inner motivations seem to be that he was jealous of Aharon, which is a good kavanah, right? Maybe that's why he felt like, I have the same amount of kavanah as you and Aharon. He also wanted to go into the Kodesh Kodeshim. That's what he was jealous about. He wanted to attain this great closeness to Hashem that can be achieved in that room, in that service. When it comes to jealousy for material things is always forbidden, right? When it comes to jealousy for ruchniot, spiritual things, then that's actually considered commendable. A Jew is meant to yearn for Hashem with his entire soul. He is our very life, literally. He is our life. And the life of all of the worlds. Even the upper worlds, the most original, primordial, holy spiritual worlds, are like a dead midbar, desolate and inert, like inanimate matter, possessing no vitality at all compared to the vitality of Hashem, who gives them but a small ray of a reflection of his life. In the desert, free of worldly distractions, the Jewish people experienced this great thirst for Hashem. They felt the desolation of being in a physical body. They were thirsty to return to Hashem. Sama nafshi lelohim le'el chai matai avor ve'ereh. Even if it meant losing their life, like Dasan and Aviram. And certainly Korach was jealous of Aaron for being able to go into the Kodesh Kodashim. However, Korach made a big mistake in acting on his jealousy. That's the problem. It's okay to yearn for something spiritual, but it's not okay to take it into your own hands to get it. This was his sin, and this is in fact a lesson for all time. We're actually seeing this now in our times. Korach had good intentions, and therefore he thought he was in the right. And he really did. As such, he acted on his intentions by spreading a set of unfalsifiable but emotionally appealing set of allegations against his leader. And as we can see, many people went along with it. In the end, he caused a great amount of destruction from his good intentions, and many people lost their lives. We're of course seeing this today. Many people with all the best intentions in the world are acting on their intentions and causing destruction. Nobody likes to see people get hurt. In fact, compassion is a very human trait, and commendable one at that. But in their compassion, in their good intentions, they're making a huge mistake, advocating for movements that make things worse, not better. This is happening in many spheres of modern culture and politics, especially with Israel, and we are seeing this with our own eyes. So what do we do about it? It seems like the lesson of Korach is a hard one. Hashem had to perform a miracle to undo it. So should we be hopeless? Can we expect miracles? Well, yes we can, but That's not the point. We're not meant to rely on miracles. So what can we practically do? Well, there is one thing that we can always do that works even better than miracles, and that is to double down on our performance of Torah, mitzvot, and tefillah. Torah, mitzvahs, and prayer. Why? Let's break it down. Firstly, we need wisdom. Good intentions are not worthless. They're actually even more precious than actions when they're done right. In order to activate them into real good, we need the wisdom to apply them properly. So we need to learn Torah and to teach Torah in order to increase the wisdom in the world. They also need to be made holy, and Torah is good for that too. For example, compassion, like we said, is a very human trait, but it needs to be elevated to be a godly trait in order for it to lead to eternal good. I'm reminded of a funny story that RabbiYehoshuaSimons brings in its Anaf Avot about the man who sees his rabbi lighting a fire in his house across the street on Shabbat. It's raining, so he gets out his umbrella and he storms off to rebuke the rabbi. The rabbi says that he was following halacha. He lit the fire because his daughter was in labor and the doctor said that they needed some warmth. So this was completely allowed on Shabbat. In fact, he was obligated to light the fire. But the silly man broke Shabbat with his umbrella, trying to rebuke the rabbi. Without wisdom, we're nowhere, right? All the good intentions of the world are meaningless and, in fact, lead to destruction more often than they don't. So next, what do we need to do? We need to increase our yearning for Hashem. We need to try and achieve the yearning for Hashem that we had in the Midbar. Since the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, this yearning has gone down. That's why Chazal specifically instituted regular prayers after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, because it is through prayer that we are meant to awaken our yearning for Hashem. Lastly, we need to direct that yearning correctly. We join our wisdom and our yearning together by performing the mitzvot correctly. We study halacha, we increase our wisdom, and we do the mitzvot properly and perfectly. And as we know, this is what fixes the world better than anything else. Korach should have stuck to his lane. He was not going to be a Kohen Gadol. It's okay to yearn for it, but he should have just followed halacha. And what happens next? How does mitzvot express our yearning? Well, the Alter Rebbe gives a mashal in Likutei Torah Bamidbar, where he says, one who loves his friend, and due to his love embraces him with his body or with his arm, this is certainly not because he loves the body itself or the arm itself, but because he loves his friend's inner being and vitality, and therefore he embraces him with his body and with his arm, because it's not possible to grasp his inner being and vitality alone. So is, by way of analogy, what is written, Uyamino techabkeni, and his right hand embraces me, which is the Torah, which is called the right arm of the Holy One, blessed be He. And so, when a person cleaves the Torah, this is closeness to God itself, and the union of the Infinite One, blessed be He, within his soul itself, much better than a cuddle. As the Alter Rebbe says, and behold, this union is a wondrous and mighty union, the likes of which does not exist in physicality. So, what are we waiting for? It's simple. Let's strengthen ourselves in Torah, mitzvot, and tefillah, our kavanah for all three, and we will certainly see the miraculous culmination of these very Moshiachic times, speedily and peacefully. Shabbat Shalom.